comes my short 15 hand file. This has always been my go-to when I'm getting into MB2 canals. Sometimes if there's an apical or cervical impediment, I have to bend the very tip of this to get in there. Let's see how this works. Yeah, it's hanging up right at that first curve there. And I can pull it out and bend it. That's what I've always done. Let me see if where my endo bender is. Hey, oh, here we go. Okay. This is the new Endo Bender 2. It's got bending pliers on both sides. So it's a little bit more ambidextrous.
So I had an endodontist ask me about the Endo Bender actually at our microsurgery course at the weekend. And
okay.
It was like, because at the retreatment course the week before, we really talked about how important it is to get that angle right, and how important it is to have kind of consistency in how you bend your files. Because
yeah, the main thing is you need to bend it in a curve to the very last flute, and you can't do that with a hemostat. So here we are. This is how I would negotiate, and this is only to mid-root because this is a 15K file, and that's too large to take a 15K file to length. My first file in an MB2 in a hand file is going to be an 08, but let's see. Here's my first impediment. I can flip it around. Watch wind that little guy.
Yeah.
Okay, now we meet the second impediment. Okay, I've got that. So I have to, if I turn this file looking for that different pathway, I will spiral the tip of the file, and now it's useless. So what I do is I pull back, I turn it, and I try there. I pull back, I turn it, I try it the other direction. Can you see that? Look at that. So I tried it in this direction, no go, met another impediment. So I'm just basically, and what I'm looking at here, my total focus is when I try it in a different direction, is it going deeper or shallower in the canal? And there's the, there's the Holy Grail. That's what you're looking for. Absolutely. And without seeing it, in this case, I took it further than I would have in a natural case, but there we are, we're to length around, and there was one more impediment at the very end. Let's compare that to a rotary, like a 15-0.
But just on that, the crucial thing is that you've got a consistent curve on the file, because when I see lots of people trying to pre-curve files, it's almost like a 45-degree bend, 4 flutes up. So it's like, when you try and rotate it, literally, it's like you're just creating obstructions for yourself.
Here are the versions that, okay, so I tell an endodontist about this, they go, oh no, I bend them over my gloved finger. It's like, so here's the bend you put on it.
Yeah.
That will never get you around an impediment. Watch a second here. I'm going to grab this little guy, 4 millimeters back from the tip with a cotton plier, a locking plier that's a piece of junk. Sorry, I hate them when they don't work. Here we go. I love them when they do. Okay. So let's go to the scale of a root canal now. As we get closer to that scale, we see that the end of the file is not curved. That's a functionally straight file, even though there's a pretty significant curve along the length of it. So that's not helpful at all. So the whole thing about that, we're all taught to do this, that you're going to always do the ribbon curling thing on the small files with your cotton pliers. Okay, usually it's done kind of like this.
Yeah.
Right? And then you feel like an artist when you're going to negotiate. Totally useless. Every time we've done that, like the millions and billions of times we've all done that because we were taught, it's not helpful at all. And the way I figured that out was like one time I couldn't get to the end of a curved canal until I tried a straight one, an unbent file, and it went to length. So I after that, I realized, I don't know if I need to bend these files. I'm just going to not bend any of them from now on and see what happens. I found out that in 5 to 8% of the cases, I met an impediment, had to pull the file out, put a bend, but not a bend, where you do with a cotton plier, a bend like this. It's the very, very last. This is actually straightened out a little bit, but it has to be to that last flute. That's, just imagine, do your mental imaging. That's the part that's meeting the impediment in the canal. So that's the part that has to have the bend on it.
Yeah. And
but
for everyone watching,
Watch the alternative here.
one of the biggest things you can take from this whole thing is just that little nugget there will save so much time in negotiating apical it's like bifurcations, all of it.
Yeah.
It's that little thing for all your retreatments. It's like an invaluable little tip.
Exactly. And you know, they're not inexpensive because they're expensive to make, but they're a lifetime instrument. Unless, you know, some intern comes and steals it out of your operatory, you know, like that.
If you're doing endo every day though, you're going to use that. So the time that saves you, even probably in the first week of using it, it'll have paid for itself.
I have